Unit 4, Day 3, Vocabulary. Slope equals vertical change, which is your rise, over your horizontal change, which is your run. Slope of a line, change in y coordinates, rise, change in x coordinates, run. Then we have our slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Examples of slopes. Positive slope, like the little penguin going up the mountain from left to right, going up, will be positive. We're going from the left to the right down, you're going to have a negative slope. Think about this. If you're going from quadrant 3 to quadrant 1, you're going to have a positive slope. From quadrant 2 to quadrant 4, you'll have a negative slope. You can also have a zero slope, and it's like a road. So imagine like this is a road. Okay? The car is driving down the road straight. It's going to have a zero slope. Think about the little car here for undefined slope. It's going up and down. A car cannot move vertical. It can only move horizontal. So undefined. Okay? And you're going to see with it a number over 0. This one is going to be 0 over a number. As remember, you cannot divide by 0, so that is undefined. Finding the slope of the line. We found the slope of a line by making a slope triangle. Okay? You will connect your dots by going up and then across, and then we're going to do your rise over run. So you'll start here and you'll rise up 1, 2. So your rise will be 2, and then your run will be 1, 2, 3. So 2, 3. So your slope is 2 over 3. I know that your graph is hard to see on your handout, and we apologize for that. The copies did not run. Did not run great. So we have I'm going to tell you your x and your y. So our first point here, right here, will be -1. Or actually this one here will be -1, 1, and 3, -2. So we're going to rise 1, 2, 3. And we're going to go to the left, which is going to be a negative. So -1, -2, -3, -4. So your slope equals -3 over 4. It does not matter which number your rise or your run is negative, because you can also make your slope triangle this way, and you'll go down, which will be -1, 2, 3, and then you're running to the right, which will be +1, 2, 3, 4. C. I'm going to write your points for you to help you. Be 2, 1, then -4, 5. I'm going to make my slope triangle. I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to count up. I'm going to rise first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Since I went up, it's going to be +4. Then I'm running to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Be -6. You can also reduce this fraction to be m equals 2 over -3. Either answer is correct. It just depends on how the question's asked. D, my x is -3, and then -2 for my y, -1, +3. You'll make your slope triangle. I'm going to rise first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm going to run to the right, which is positive 1, 2. So my slope is my rise is 5, my run is 2. So m equals 5/2. Write my x and y, so it's 0, -2, 8, and 4. We'll make our slope triangle. We'll rise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we'll run from this spot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my m equals, my rise is 6/8, or we can reduce that to m equals 2, 3/4, 3/4. F, my x is 3, 5, 8, and 1. First thing you need to do, make your slope triangle. I always like to do my rise first, so I'm going to start here. I'm going to rise 1, 2, 3, 4. So my rise is 4. And I'm going to run to the left, which would be negative. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. So m equals 4/-5. I can also take it and I can make my triangle go down. And I can go down first, 1, 2, 3, 4. So my rise would be -4 because I went down. Then we'll go to the right, which is positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my run is 5, +5. Slope formula. I'm going to rewrite the slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. What I personally like to do before I start any problems, I write my formula, and then I label my points. So this would be x1 and y1. It does not matter which order pair you make y1 and y2, or x1 and x1 and y1, but they both need to be the same one. Okay, so if this is x1 and y1, then this is going to be x2 and y2. So I have my formula up here. So y2 would be -2 minus -2, I'm going to put that in parentheses, over y2, x2, which is 7, minus 1. -2 minus -2 gives me 0. 7 minus 1 equals 6. If I do 0 divided by 6, that would be 0. So this has a 0 slope. And I always put a line through my z's just so you don't get them confused with 2's. Same thing here on my second one. Label it x1, y1, x2, y2. M equals y2, which is 2, minus -1, which is your y1, over 6 minus 1. M equals -2 minus -1 will give me 3. 6 minus 1 gives me 5, so my slope is 3/5. Examples of slope. This is a duplicate side. 0 slope is going to go straight on a road, undefined. It's going to be vertical, and you cannot have a vertical slope because the car cannot go up and down. So it's undefined. Find the slope of each line. State whether the slope is 0 or undefined. So I'm going to rewrite my equation. We'll just write it right here. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. x1, x1, y1, x2, y2, 2 minus 2, 3 minus -2. 2 minus 2 gives me 0. 3 minus -2 gives me 5, which will be 0. So this is a 0 slope. On B, we have x1, y1, x2, y2. M equals, remember your M's your slope, y2, -2, minus 1, -5, minus -5. -2 minus 1 gives me -3. -5 minus -5 equals 0. Cannot divide by 0, so B is undefined. Find the slope of each line. State whether the slope is 0 or undefined. So the first one we're going to do is line P. And since the line's red, I'm going to do red. So line P. I'm going to rewrite my equation at the top up here. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You need to memorize the slope formula. Line P, x1, y1, x2, y2, 2 minus 2 over 6 minus -2. 2 minus 2 is 0. 6 divided by -2 is 8. And that will equal 0. So line P, M equals 0. And you also can see because the line goes horizontal, it's going to be 0. Line K, y1, x1, y1, sorry, x2, y2. M equals -4 minus -1 over 3 minus 3. -4 minus -1 equals -3 over 0. Cannot divide by 0, so that's going to be undefined. So line K, M equals undefined. Can never divide by 0. Find the slope of a line through the points 3, 1, and 3, -2. State whether the slope is 0 or undefined. So I'm going to write M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. M equals, and we'll label x1, y1, x2, y2. So -2 minus 1 over 3 minus 3. Negative 2 minus 1 gives me negative 3. Divide by 0. You can't divide by 0, so this one's going to be undefined. If your x's are the same number, your answers are going to be undefined. If your y's are the same number, your answer is going to be 0. Find the slope through the point and state whether slope is 0 or undefined. So I'm going to write my slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, x1, y1, x2, y2. Fill in my formula, y2, 5, minus y1, which is 5, over 3 minus negative 2. 5 minus 5 is 0. 3 minus negative 2 is 5, which will equal 0. So the slope M equals 0. Here, you notice how your y's are the same number, 5 and 5. So if I subtract 5 minus 5, I'm going to get 0. So I know automatically that that slope is going to be 0. Finding slope from a table. Graph the fuel usage data at the left. Connect the points with a line, then find the rate of change. Graph is on the next slide. Find the rate of change below. Your rate of change is also your slope. Okay? We're going to use this chart here to fill out a graph. So here's our graph. Yours is kind of harder to see, but we can still make do with it. So we have 40 and then 4 is my first point, 60 and 6, 80 and 8, and 110. So we have two ways that we can solve this problem. We can do, I need to connect my line. We can do rise over run, or we can do the slope formula based on 2 points, okay? The thing is, if you're thinking about rise over run, when you think of your points here, your rise is going up by 1, your y value is. So be 1, 2 will be your rise, okay? So if I do it that way, M equals rise over run. Your run would be 2. And then I'll have your rise will be 2, and then I'll do my run. Okay, notice on my x-axis, I'm counting by tens. So it'd be like this would be 10, 30, 50, 70, 90. So you'll go 10, 20, so your run will actually be positive 20. Okay? So you could do it that way, but you need to, that's tricky to remember when your axes don't go directly by 1. Your next way to do it is to take 2 points, and I'm going to take 2 points of, I'm going to write my formula quick. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. Now I'm going to do my 2 points. I got these straight from my graph. I'm going to take the first 2 points, 40 and 4, and 60 and 6. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So 6 minus 4 over 60 minus 40. 6 minus 4 is 2. 60 minus 40 is 20. So your slope equals 2 over 20. Graph the data in the table and connect the points with a line. Then find the slope. The graph is on the next slide. So this time that our graph is not labeled, so I'm just going to take a few seconds to label our graph. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, 7, and then 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to label my points now. I'm going to switch to blue. -1 and +2. 0 and 0, that's your origin. 1, -2, 2, -4. Connect my line, not the greatest. Since this one is, you can do rise over run with this one, just find 2 points. So M equals rise over run. We'll rise 1, 2, so +2 over run -1, which reduces to -2. You could also do your M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If I use these exact same points, will be the last 2 points on my line. So I'll rewrite them real quick. 1 minus -2 and 2 -4. -4 minus -2 over 2 minus 1. -4 minus -2 will give you -2. 2 minus 1 gives you 1, which reduces to -2. And also look at your line and know that it is a negative slope. Graph the distance cost data below. Connect the points with a line, then find the rate of change. My graph is not labeled, so I'm going to label my graph right quick. I'm going to go by hundreds on the bottom, or on my x-axis. It's hard to see. And then I'm going to go by 25. So 25, 50, 75, 100, 125. Okay? It's 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. I just kind of ran an array. So 0, 0, 125, 250, 375, 400, and 100, 500, and 125. So I'm going to connect my points. Okay? I'm going to do rise over run. I'm just going to pick 2 random points. I'm going to do this point, and I'm going to do this point. The points I chose was 125 and 250. So M equals rise over run. We'll rise by 25 because my y-axis is going by 25. So it's over 25. And then I'm running by 100. You can leave this like this, or you can reduce it. I know 25 can go into 25 one time, and 25 can go into 100 4 times. You can also do the slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. x1, y1, x2, y2. $50 minus 25 over 200 minus 100. 50 minus 25, 200 minus 100 is 100. And you can leave it like that, or you can reduce it to 1/4. So just remember, as a review, slope is rise over run, or to make with a slope triangle, or you can do M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.